Good morning, everyone, and warm welcome to each of you. Today, SoftClone is hosting a truly inspiring session, and we are honored to have with a distinguished guest, Mr. Umesh Bapat, sir, seasonal professional in IT industry with impressive 18-year journey. For the past decade, he has been immersed in dynamic landscape of United States, contributing his expertise to some truly ex- excellently projects. Over the last 8 years, Mr. Bapat sir have been an integral part of the engineering group of Amrock. His wealth of experience reflect not just in a project has been a part of but also in innovative spirit he brings to his work. Mr. Bapat's educational foundation is also equally noteworthy, having a purchased his diploma in ICRE College and the engineering from Pune University. He is committed to his learning and staying at the forefront of technology has been undoubtedly driving force in his successful career. Today, we are privileged to hearing a Mr. Bapat speak on the topic IT industry opportunity, role, and team structure. We are eagerly to anticipate experience he will share with us, shedding light on the dynamic landscape of the IT industry. Without further ado, let's hear from Mr. Umed Bapat, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. That was a very, very long but also very nice introduction. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Could we get some video turn-ons, please? मी तुमच्यातलाच एक आहे बरं का. मी आज मराठीत सगळं बोलणार आहे. त्यामुळे प्लीज गेट युअर व्हिडिओज ऑन इफ इट इज पॉसिबल. इफ इट इज नॉट, दॅट्स फाईन. But I would like to have some friends along with me and sir. Um, so, uh, सरांनी मला एक एक वीक पूर्वी अप्रोच केलं आणि सांगितलं की उमेश would you like to come over as a guest and present something, and it was quite an honor, because him remembering me after so long and I haven't had a chat with him was such a nice gesture for him. So I really appreciate that, and it was a pleasant surprise for me to talk to him, also get to know about soft clones being still carried on for so many years. He has been the founder, he has been the driver, he has been the very big support in this community. So it was a very pleasantly surprising for me. So I appreciate this opportunity. I chose a topic which is, I believe, going to be helpful for some of you, if not all of you. We can always get into the details of anything that I'm going to be talking about today, but and please stop me. I know मी तुम्हाला इथं रविवारी सकाळी बोलवलंय, त्यामुळे I guess I already ruined your Sunday morning, but let's make it more interactive and join me in this session, and let's make it question and answer mode rather than me being in monotonous way of like explaining myself, right? So the topic is, let me share my screen and present. Are we ready? Yes. Right. Yeah, are you guys able to see my screen? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rishikesh. All right. Um, so, the reason I chose this topic is when I was graduating from my college, may it be diploma or even when I was graduating from my bachelor's, my engineering, I had some notions, I had some preconceptions about like what software industry means, right? What does software engineering means? What am I going to do when I become a professional? And um, a lot of those preconceptions were cleared in a very quick time, and it I wish I had a better understanding or better insights into what it means before I started my career as an IT professional, so that I would have been a little better prepared for the journey. So I'm going to talk about what all different roles, what all different careers you can have um, in software, right? Or in IT industry. I'm not going to say software because there are nuances in it, but what all different jobs, roles, and responsibilities you can play in an IT industry. Um, I'm going to be explaining uh, those, and I'll try to get a good example of day-to-day life from a software engineer's um, job, and I'll show some of the examples wherever it is possible. But stop me if you have any questions. Stop me if you want to add anything to what I'm saying, and let's make it more interactive. All right. First thing we always think about, especially when we are in our student days, we always feel it's gonna be all coding, right? That's all we think about. It's software development, and in a lot of ways it is true that it's all about software more than anything when you start as an IT professional, whatever role you get into, and we'll talk about some of the other rules. But this is where we start, most of us. I mean, that's where we feel it's gonna start. And of course there is a big part of it that is revolving around this role, that is software development. So what all roles you can play as in software development, right? You can be a web developer, you can be a Windows developer, you can be an application engineer, software engineer, software architect. They are all different roles. So let's get into each of those a little bit, right? Web developer, as the name self explains itself, it's a role where you are majorly talking about developing web interfaces. All the web technologies that you can think of can be part of that, right? So web developer is pretty standard, but also in a way very boxed role. But also it, again, titles at different companies can vary. It doesn't mean that web developer at one company it will be exactly same in any other company. That may not be true, but more or less, by and large, web developer is more about web experience, web interfacing skills. Windows developer, this is the I would say this is the role which is going to be um, I'm almost sure that going to be deprecated in some time, because we are so heavily getting into PDAs, mobiles, as our main source of information or any kind of work that we do, even in day-to-day life, right? So we are going to be probably going over computers as well at some point, and then we will be a lot more driven by smart devices. So I think that is one of the roles which, when I started my career, was prominent. And even right now, we come from like small places like Gargoti, right? Where you see a lot of small software still are in active mode. Like for example, dairies, small banks, small shops, wholesale retailers. All of those still require some sort of softwares, and there are companies which provide that. So I think there is still a bit of industrial presence of Windows application developers, but not a lot. Application engineers are the ones who write um, rules, right? Like for an example, if you are working with a banking domain, I have been fortunate enough to work in different domains so far. May it be financial, may it be energy sector, may it be enterprise, web application. All those have their specific rules to their domains, right? These are the engineers who are subject matter experts in a lot of ways. Like they are called SMEs. um, these are subject matter experts which drive the application engineering, meaning they write domain rules. What is a success criteria, what is a failure criteria, all of those are application engineers. Software engineer, again, hold on, we all know, like when we graduate and join any company right now, we probably are looked upon as software engineers, because that's what we are specialized in when we graduate from our universities, colleges. So engineering is going to stick with us, whether you become a software developer or any other role that we're going to be talking about. Engineering is going to be stuck with you for rest of your career. Software architects. Um, this is a very important role in a way. Anyone has any idea, just to make or just to poke you guys, anyone of you has heard about what software architects do, or know anyone, um, any ideas? Any answers are fine. Who's gonna answer? None. How about you, Rushikesh?
I think, sir, all the designs and the SRS material will be finalized by the architect.
Good. Anyone else? All right. I'm not going to make it a grilling experience here, but yes, you're right. Software architects are the people who are going to be driving solutions. Like you said, designing systems, right? You're going to have different problems. Uh, Whenever you change project, product, or teams, you're going to have different problems to deal with and solve to. And for every problem, there's going to be a different process to solve. There is going to be different tool and skills needed to solve. So these are the people who are going to be setting up that solution. And that's why software architects are very pivotal in any project or product. Let's move on to another subset of development is mobile application development, right? I heard from Puar sir that you guys also have mobile application development as part of your curriculum and syllabus. We didn't have that. Even when we graduated from degree, we never had mobile application development as part of our syllabus. So I think this was something new. All the responsibilities and role expectations that we just talked about with different roles in software development, web development, application engineering, architecture still are relevant with this. So mobile app developers are as good as any other software engineers, or they do the exact same thing with different tools. These are the tools which we use for. For example, I have a couple of teams with me, and for both those teams, one is a mobile team and the other is a web team. We pretty much do and follow the same fundamentals and expectations that we do with the core web development. They are run with same expectations, although their skills and tools are completely different. This is a big growing field right now where we are expected to have all applications in mobiles, right? Like we want to have all the application present in the form of at least mobile web applications or mobile applications, like just apps, may it be Android, may it be iOS. We need this presence. So even in my day-to-day applications that I work with, we are expected to follow mobile first approach, meaning any new feature which is going to be developed should be started from mobile point of view, because all of us probably use more mobile than any other device, right? Like not even computers. So I think this is a growing field. I do not have expertise in this, but I do work with a team which is a core part of our application development. So these are the two core development streams that you can think of. Application development. If we go beyond this, um, uh, horizon of roles that you can play with. So software developers, mobile app developers, and then we'll move on to quite a rich expertise that is being developed uh, with the industrial trends right now. Everyone knows that if you know the data, if you have access to data, you have access to the power in a lot of ways. So data is power, basically. Data engineering, you're going to have or when you start applying, or whenever you get into campus interviews, you probably will not hear this as much. But as and when you start getting into a- any companies by yourself, you will see these special roles that exist right now: data engineers, data architects, and data admins. What do they do? What are these data engineers? Like, how are they different from? Is it just like firing SQL, NoSQL, or using MySQL apps? Is that it? Um, in some form, yes, but data engineers are the people who are engineering and creating streams of data for any of the applications that you are working with. So, for an example, if you're working with, let's say, a commercial app such as Amazon, right? If you're working with an app like Amazon, it has a lot of data sources, right? Like it has customers, it has data from all the products, it has data from all the trends that they get, it has data from the users in terms of different geographical locations. You have lot of data that is available for for running insights on. Who does this? How do they get access to this data, right? These are the people who do it: data engineers, data architects, and data admins. These are the people who build pipelines which are going to be bringing data from these different sources, heterogeneous sources, sources which present in different platforms, to the data store that they define. And it's a big expertise. We can just get into the list of every tool that I have listed here: SQL, Power BI, Python. These are just a tip of an iceberg. So what these people do is create a well-defined stream pipelines of infrastructure which can pull the data from sources and deploy it to the databases or data stores, data sets that have been defined. This is a simple form of responsibility I can think about. Uh, this is a very important aspect of any application, because no application in the world can run without data. So in the good old days, we used to have database teams. So data was more revolving around databases. That's it. We did not see or think about data as we see in the current day. And we'll come to the next part of this data world shortly, which you have been hearing at least for last 2 years more often than not. And then it is a rich source of creating a wonderful career. If you are expert in data engineering, there is no end to the opportunities that are in front of you. So if, while we're talking about these roles and responsibilities, think about like what interests you, right? And then ask questions as I'm going, because it's hard to relate to what exactly you're thinking, or what you know, what you don't know. So please stop me if I'm going too fast or too slow. So data engineering is one aspect of data. Let's talk about the next and very highly talked about aspect of data these days: AI. Everyone is talking about AI, right? Artificial intelligence, open AI, Satya Nadella, and all that has happened in recent times with OpenAI as an organization. Everyone is aware, and there's a big buzzword that's going on. Like everyone wants to know what is AI. Everyone wants to use it, um, and that is why we need to understand how can I make career in data science or artificial intelligence, machine learning. Um, First of all, I would like to clear some of the things where, and it took me a little bit to understand it myself. For an example, how is it different than data engineering? What is data science? What is machine learning, right? What is artificial intelligence? All of those things. And it's a big subject, खूप मोठा subject आहे. नुसतं AI असं म्हटलं म्हणजे यू कॅन थिंक अबाउट मेनी थिंग्स, राईट? तुम्ही मेकॅनिकलचे लोक बघत असाल आणि अजूनपर्यंत खूप वेळा मी त्यांच्या तोंडून ऐकलेलं आहे, म्हणजे डिप्लोमाला पण. वी डोंट हॅव इट इन डिप्लोमा. आय डू नॉट नो इफ यू गाईज हॅव द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ theory of computation. Do we have that? No. Okay. So when you will go to engineering, when you'll go to bachelor's, you will have a subject called theory of computation. Like the civil or mechanical people have theory of structure, theory of strength, right? Theory of material. This is our theory, like equivalent, I would say. So machine learning has been going around for a long time. Let's come to that in a while. But what is data science? So now in previous slide, you learned what is data engineering. Data engineering म्हणजे different sources are so you briefly saw a slide called ETL, right? What is ETL? ETL meaning extract, transform, and load. So once you have the data stored in your data sources or data sets, what to do with that data? Now you have huge amount of data at your disposal, right? Like what are you going to do with it? That's what data science or data scientists do. So what roles do you have in data science? Data scientists, data analysts, data intelligent analysts, and data architects. Each of these are overlapping. When I list these roles, I you don't really have to think they are way different than each other. It, these are overlapping roles. They overlap with each other in terms of responsibilities, in terms of skills, tools they use. The responsibilities, in a way, what decisions they make, what they execute on day to day differs. So these are possible roles or jobs that you can think about, or careers you can think about. So data science is about using the data that is stored in our data sets, databases, and sources, and make the sense out of it. त्यातून आपल्याला इन्फॉर्मेशन कशी काढता येईल बाहेर, ह्याच्यासाठी डेटा सायन्स is important. Then what is machine learning, right? Is it same? It is very related. So you will you will see, if you go right now on any of the like LinkedIn's or any of the sites, and if you search for like opportunities in AI, you probably will come across these possible roles: data scientist, data analysts, data intelligence analysts, data architects, machine learning engineer, AI engineer. They are very interconnected. Machine learning is about, once you have data scientists creating data models out of your data sets. Now what is data model, right? when you when we when you get into an application of as big of a scope as Amazon or Google, just imagine how much data they must be carrying, right? um, Huge amount of data. Would it be possible to efficiently use that data, or like would it be possible to just go and do a simple SQL join or like query on these data sets? No, right? And that wouldn't be efficient with the amount of data size they have. And that is why they need to create more mature data sets. So it's like extracting meaningful data out of the data, raw data that you have, and that's what data scientists do. You can see it's self-explanatory. What do scientists do? They experiment, right? Like they try and go from the current level of awareness in any subject to the next level. That's exactly what they do on the data. They are the scientists who are working on the data to find more insights. And that way, तुम्ही आता फेसबुकवर ज्यावेळी ब्राउज करत असता, यू गेट ऍड्स विच आर व्हेरी पर्सनल टू यू, राईट? लाईक तुमच्या ब्राउझिंग, तुमच्या लाईक्स, तुमच्या डिसलाईक्स, तुमच्या ट्रेंड्स, हे सगळं ऑब्झर्व होतंय. They may not know who is Umesh Bapat, they may not know who is Rishikesh, they may not know who is Neha, but they know this is a person, this is a user who has been going around and and doing some activities which is converting into data. तुमच्या ह्या ऍक्टिव्हिटीज सगळ्या ट्रॅक होत आहेत. They are getting converted into data. And now once you have that meaningful information stored, your machine learning comes into the picture, right? Machine learning is about working on that information that Umesh has been going around on these websites. He generally likes these kind of products. He goes and joins these kind of groups. He is most likely available for messaging in the groups that he joins. And he knows can I sell this data to Amazon or any commercial application so that they can run analytics on it and then start giving me advertises or commercials who I can go and click and then buy. This is what machine learning does. It is self-educating. It is self learning. And then we can get into deep learning and all of that. But I think in a nutshell, you heard about what is data engineering. That is about gathering the data from different sources, and then what is data science, and then how machine learning is closely related to that. And that's where artificial intelligence comes into the picture, where it is uh, it is it is self-learning. It develops intelligence through the data that is available at your disposal. It's the same way with our intelligence as well, right? We can only make decisions. मला मला जर माहितच नाहीये की there is a place like Kolhapur, I would never think to or try and make map in my head or try and find routes to go to that place. It's the same exact way with machine learning as well. Anybody has anyone tried to use chat gpt? Any of you? It's free, you guys know that, right? Has anyone
Yes.
tried? Good. So what did you learn from that? Kai तू केलंस chat gpt मध्ये? Did you find anything interesting? Did you ask any questions?
Yes. I have. I had one list. I want to the sort or make customize it. So it's makes our task lot of easier and provides
Great.
in less time.
Yes. Yes. That's called natural language processing, right? त्याला कसं कळतं आपण काय सांगतोय ते आपण? It really is an algorithm which knows how to process languages, natural language processing. It's a big way to get to know how the systems works. If any of you, some of you may not have used it, I really like suggest you to go open an account on ChatGPT. It's free, and just explore like how easily it is helping you for your national. So for example, if you're creating your resume, um, just go and type in your bullet points and tell ChatGPT to create a resume out of it. It will do it for you, and then you can refine it, then you can modify it, you can but it is a big assistance. And we did not have that capability available for free all these years. So I do suggest you guys to go and explore. Same way, because we are in machine learning, do read about like what is Turing. Have you guys heard about Turing machines? Or just try and find history of these topics. Just don't get stuck to tools and regular, academics. There are movies on Turing machine. If you have heard about Imitation Game, it's a great movie to know like how a machine learning engineer changed the course of Second World War. So it's a fascinating subject, and I can go and talk about it. But again, we have to move. So data science, data engineering, machine learning. I think uh, what's your name? Sorry, is it Sagar who used ChatGPT?
It's Rajvardhan.
Sorry, what's your name?
Rajvardhan, they say.
Rajvardhan. Thank you, Rajvardhan. Appreciate you. Good job knowing ChatGPT and using it already. So the next area of expertise that you can think about, or like if you are putting your, I'm telling you all this because I hope some of you are going to build your own companies. Like they're going to be entrepreneurs, and not everyone is going to do a job like I do right now, or many of us do. So if you're building a company, you would need these expertise, right? That's how these roles are important. System infrastructure or network and cloud, like you always heard about. You have a lab in ICE area as well, right? Like we used to have a lab admin, um, and it used to be a very tedious process back in the day before cloud came in, right? The machines were literally connected from wire from each other. Not that we don't require that anymore, but the field of infrastructure has grown by leaps and bounds. With current day infrastructure, there are a lot of different roles you can think about. Like these are the prominent roles that people work with right now: system engineer, system architect, network admin, network engineer, site reliability engineer, DevOps engineers. Some of this you might have already heard about it, right? What is system engineers? Um, for an example, my company has been in business for many years. So we were not in cloud from day one, right? As an organization, we started with on-prem systems, meaning we had servers, we had on-prem network. When I say on-prem, that means on-premises, meaning तुमच्या premises मध्ये तुमचं सगळं नेटवर्क एस्टॅब्लिश केलेलं असतं. आणि ज्यावेळी तुमचा युजर बेस वाढत जातो, आयदर तुम्हाला नवीन सर्व्हर्स विकत घ्यायला लागायचे पूर्वी, बिकॉज युअर स्टोरेज नीड्स, युअर प्रोसेसिंग नीड्स ग्रो अप, राईट? लाईक जर तुम्ही तुमच्या घरामध्ये जर तुम्ही 4 लोक कम्प्युटर वापरत असाल, तर ऑब्व्हियसली यू वुडंट इट वुडंट बी it wouldn't be wise to have one computer shared for professional purposes within the team members, right? So you need multiple resources. You need more resources for processing, for storage, for networking. That's why cloud came into the picture. All that cost of like setup and uh, setup of infrastructure locally has been taken away. आणि मग हे Amazon and all these big companies, AWS, Google, Azure, Microsoft, these are the people, these are the organizations which are built on top of that. And system engineers work with more prominently with with cloud systems, cloud infrastructure, because that's where world is going. No one wants to maintain their own network, right? And no one wants to maintain their own infrastructure locally. That is why they are using all these cloud providers. We still have on premises. So I was talking about my organization where we still have on premises network. We can't just get rid of it. So we need to work and function in mixed mode. That's where you need network engineers, network admins, site reliability engineering. It's a new terminology. It's a new career space that is being developed. Same with DevOps engineer. We will come to these two topics in a bit, but these are, if you guys are noting down or just Googling right now on the side, see what you find about it, and then we can come back to it. But we will talk about those two, two especially jobs in a little bit. Are there any questions so far? I guess no. All right, we'll move. Cybersecurity, right? Uh, it's a big topic since computers and networking has been in our life. Cybersecurity has been there in some form, and the need of cybersecurity um, engineers or people who are experts in this is growing every day, and more so with the current time when we are talking about machine learning, we are talking about artificial intelligence in every sector. We will need it more than ever. The amount of information that we are storing, the amount of data that we are trying to deal with is enormous. So there is no boundaries with how um, you can think about cybersecurity's usefulness in current um, uh, organizations. So infosec engineers, infosec analysts, infosec architects are must in any company. So if you have interests in ethical hacking, I know it's a big buzzword. A lot of people make careers in this. I know one of our alumni, Suhas Desai, has been an expert in that uh, category as well. So this is an area or a niche or a skill that's gonna pay you by a long way. If you are expert and if you happen to go into this, there is no end um, to the opportunities that are at your disposal. Uh, by the by the growth of cloud, by the growth of uh, all the system infrastructure that we talked about in the previous slide, it the responsibility has been shifted from, again, your local firewalling, or the remedies or the techniques that we used to have for the on-premises systems are changed. So now we are more talking about cloud infrastructure security and jobs around it. For an example, in my day-to-day work, if we are developing a new API, and we are putting it out there, we have to go through a stringent checklist or a security verification for each of our activities. So we can't just go and deploy any application in the cloud like that. So it goes through a lot of infosec awareness, infosec security checklist, and then a lot of audits. So it's a big uh, way of entering into a job market which has no boundaries, like I said. Next, IT project management, right? Especially in India, we have a big tradition of, or somehow a big um, concept about like managing projects, right? More so than any other section, any other sector of industry. Like we need project managers in most of the software companies here. The definition of project management in India versus in the Western world differs. Like project management to the core has been very prominently established and used in manufacturing industry in Western countries. Not that it is not used that way in India, but it's a different definition for what project managers do than what I experienced, because I had my career in India and fortunately outside as well, and I could experience both sides of it. So there are people who are expert in project management. Then there are people who are expert in program management. It's just being a program manager is more like a superset of what you do um, at a larger level. You kind of manage multiple projects. Scrum Master. And this is a new way of um execution that teams have adopted in last 15-20 years of being into agile development. I hope, like, do you guys have any subject around this where like agile development philosophies or methodologies as part of the curriculum? No. Okay. So it's a way of how you execute projects. तुम्ही कसं काम करता? And we'll get to that. I have a section where like I'm gonna talk about like what does a team do in a day to day, like how team is executed, right? How team works. What are these different roles and how they work with each other? कसे काम करते थे day to day basis पर? We'll talk about that as well. Um, a project manager is a person who is keeping track of everything in the project. When I say everything, meaning, first of all, your investment, meaning how much money you are putting in your project. When I say money, it's not just about the things, but also people, meaning resources, every kind of resources, starting with human resources to all kinds of resources that are required to execute a project in an industry. And then expenses, um, timelines, budgeting is a big part of it. Um, and that is why project management in IT is different, or not as challenging as in manufacturing industry. For an example, working in a sugar factory, if you are working in a project or sugar industry, you are going to be working with lot of dependencies. When starting from म्हणजे तुमचा ऊस कापण्यापासून फॅक्टरीला आणेपर्यंत, आणल्यानंतर प्रोसेस करून तो त्याची शुगर झाल्यानंतर पुढे त्याचं transport and then sell, all of that has a big dependencies across the board, right? Software is not as difficult in terms of management, and that is why the definition of like management in software industry versus manufacturing industry or any other mechanical engineering industry is different. But they are still valuable assets when you are working with a team of like 100 people, and if you have to still run and do the budgeting timelines, you still require people who can do that, and that's what project managers do. Program managers, there are certifications which you can go and pursue for this. um, and it's a big career, if anyone is interested in doing so. Product management, right? How is it different than project management? There are two different disciplines altogether. Product management has becoming very uh, has developing a very strong presence in the industry in probably last 10 years, where we are starting to see products more maturely, right? Not that product management wasn't there before, but the amount of jobs and amount of rules that have been created is way more than we used to uh, 10 15 years ago. So what are the roles that you can play if you want to expertise in product management, right? There can be product owners, there can be product managers, there can be product analysts, there can be UX designers, right? uh, all these people, I have each of these people in my project. I have given these examples of rules for each of these types from my own experience, from the people I actually worked with. All the titles you have seen so far, I have worked with each of those roles in my experience. So these are the people I work with every day: product owners, product managers, product analysts, UX designers. These are the people who define product, right? Let's say if you are coming up with a new phone, for an example, or a new app, let's say new app based on Chat GPT, you have to look at it as product, right? So if you want to look at it as a product, where do you start from? Concept, right? Like what is the concept of that product? Then there is a lot of research. Why that product? What is the benefit of um, having that product built? If I'm just floating a new apps, for an example, WhatsApp. When WhatsApp came up, it was a big um, hit, right? So I'm sure like there was a lot of research, there was a lot of analysis, there was a lot of insights that has gone before that product becoming a success. These are the people who define it. What do product managers do? Again, like they look at this data. They start with an idea, of course, and then they explore every facet of product. For example, WhatsApp was just messaging before uh, when it started. Now it does video call, it does audio call, you can share a bunch of things. Now also you have a I think Chat GPT assistant with it, like which can help you type things faster, and then can give you suggestions. So it has gone a long way in last 10 years, right? 10, 12 years. How did that happen? These are the people who are actually conceptually looking at it and then providing it to the engineering team. So product management team is a big unit in any of organizations you can think about. For example, Google has, or Amazon, Microsoft, any big companies you can name, they have an entire vertical dedicated to product. These are the people who think about products. These are the people who develop insights about product, define what it should look, how it should look, and go from there. Any questions on product or project?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Neha, please.
As you know, as you tell, sir, say, sir, certificates about the management, then can you
Yes.
recommend it some website to get
Yeah. Are you
courses and
talking about,
certificates?
sure? Are you talking about project management, or you were referring to product management?
Uh,
You're talking about project
Project
management, I
management.
believe. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
So, the biggest example is PMP. I have done it myself. It's a certificate from Project Management Institute. It's a world recognized body and an institute which publishes these certificates. It goes through a big. It's almost like you are giving a paper, for an example, giving a paper exam, and a PMP is one. There are a lot of other project management independent institutes. For an example, uh, another of ITSL. um is another institute which is very prominently present in Europe. You can go for ITSL certificates. I can share some of the links on that, and then uh, as a follow up after this. Cool. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Yep. So we talked about project management, product management. We'll move on to tech support. How often have you guys called to a customer service? Right, many times, right? Every industry needs these people. um, I'm sure, like, it has again developed, it has become way more mature than what it was. You tend to have more voice assistants now than actual person talking to you. So it's becoming way more mature, it's becoming way more intelligent in how it was done, but you still need these roles there: IT tech support, business support analysts, desktop support analysts or specialists, business analysts. All these people are essentially doing some way of support, whether it is supporting an engineering team, whether it is supporting business, whether it is supporting user base, whether it is supporting a subset of engineering team or entire engineering team. There are multiple roles you can play, and these are all still pretty much relevant and required in every company. They may not have as big of a presence as it was uh, before, but it's still required. I was going to talk about how a typical team works, um, but we talked about many roles, right? Any questions, or do you feel something is still missing, or like you might have heard about a role that you did not see in any of the topics that I touched? All right. So um, I'm going to talk about how a team works. Like, you enter, let's say you pass out, you join a company. uh, how does this works? And let's say you are one of the people that I just talked about. Either you can be a software developer, maybe you're a data engineer, or maybe you're a data scientist, maybe you're a machine learning engineer, maybe you're a product owner. That's how they're gonna earmark you. Or probably you're gonna be a project manager, or whatever you become, right? You become a scrum master, or you just go and think that I tech support. I want to build a career in tech support. Any roles you play, you're probably gonna be in some form of team. You're not gonna be working on your own, right? So, how does a team work? A typical team, and of course, like there are multiple different ways and different teams in any software company. Uh, but more or less, by and large, this is how it's done in the modern days, right? You're seeing scrum process. What is scrum process? Again, in the old days, has have you guys heard about waterfall methodology or waterfall way of delivering building software?
Yes, sir.
Is it part? Sorry.
Yes, sir. We have heard.
Yes. So it is a way of like developing your product, right? Or project, or building towards something, and it's a process to follow where you do requirement analysis, then you do building, or actually implementation, then you do testing, and then you do release. With scrum or agile, about 20-25 years ago, group of people came up with this mindset of how can we build project more rapidly. Why do we have to spend 4 months doing requirement analysis, then 4 months or maybe 6 months doing implementation, or actually coding and building the software that we want to build, and then release it, and then user get to use it? It used to take about a year, right? How can we short? And then if user has any feedback, then we have to change and build towards it again. So by the time user uses it, and by the time it was started, it was more than a year ago. And things change every day, right? A year ago, open AI or artificial intelligence wasn't as big as we're talking about today. uh, Same way, trends and technology changes every day. Like, so what is the benefit of like spending a year in this waterfall way of doing things? So they thought, let's cut this loop in small, right? How about we do small requirements and release working software every often? So if they would have thought about WhatsApp as it is right now, it should have like uh, audio calling facility, video calling facility, sharing, like typing assistant, the gifs and whatever you see in it, or media support. It wouldn't have been possible, right? So they gradually developed a product in releases in small intervals. That's exactly what this means. It means we will start with an idea, we will create the most important feature that user can start using right now. And that's what the scrum process or agile means. Being agile means do your product increments in smaller chunks, release it to the user, hear from user, take the feedback, implement it again, and move on to the next feature, so that your feedback loop is shorter. You're hearing from customer users more often than you would do in waterfall. Now coming back to how a team works. So more or less, I would say 95%, um, unless there is any other reason why you can't work in like agile methodology or process, 95% of the teams are working in this way, where you would you would work with a product expertise. Maybe it is not called product owner, maybe something else, but there is a person who is looking after the product, all right, who's looking after the requirements. That product owner is actually talking to the business, the customer, and he or she would be coming up with this product backlog. It's called product backlog, product requirement backlog. And then team, all the rules that we talked about is part of it. Not every team would need a data scientist. Not every team would need a data engineer. Not every team would need a mobile engineer. So I think the combination of team and structure can be different, but the process is pretty similar. Then you have a leader or scrum master, who is looking after the team execution and implementation, and then they run in 1 to 4 weeks, meaning every 1 to 4 weeks you need to have something delivered to the customer in a working form. um, so the team structure is uh, is completely dependent on like what's your requirement is. Meaning if you're a mobile team, for example, I have a mobile team where like we have mobile engineers working in on their own pace, because sometimes I'll give an example of iOS. If we are releasing our iOS app, we need to follow the process from Apple, meaning we need to deploy the app to the App Store, which goes through a very strict process of release. Um, so they have strict expectations from us as their consumers, what we need to follow as their process. So it goes through security, it goes through infosec and vulnerability analysis, it goes through bunch of other checklists and options that we follow as Amrock or Rocket companies, and also from Apple. So their release is different than web release, but with web we control and we own all the infrastructure in our own end, and we can deploy anytime we want. But this is how it works uh, in a good day. On a good day, like, or more or less by and large 90%, 95% of the teams would work in this manner in the current software industry. Any questions, any curiosity about, because each of these blocks can be talked in length, and we can get into the details. I'm going to show my some of the things uh, in my team that we follow, what a typical day looks like for a software engineer, right? Like what do they do in a given day. I'm going to go over that as well, but any questions so far with this?
Which what do you mean by sprint?
Sprint, yes sir. Sprint is again the Scrum methodology calls the the duration for which we are implementing the changes, or like we are working on implementation. It is labeled as sprint, meaning uh, we are working in iterations. So you can call it as sprint or iteration. It's just how it's branded, because a Scrum is another organization. Like I said, Project Management Institute is an organization which um, publishes PMP or take PMP certifications or exams. Scrum.org is another worldwide organization recognized, who follows this nomenclature or branding. And sprint is nothing more than the the time duration for which team would be working on given requirement before the release. Yeah. So we talked about different things, right? Do you think did we miss about talking something that we do in waterfall very prominently? Do you feel like we are missing something very important? Any guesses? You can guess. Any guesses? No guesses? It's all right, guys. Any guesses? All right. How about testing? right? Do you guys have heard about testing at all? I guess, right? Nowhere I said like who tests it, isn't it? So in today's uh, industry, or like philosophy of like how we go about developing a product, we are working towards like not needing specialized testing teams, um, or how can we build more automation. No one needs to test things manually. That's what the focus is moving towards. That is why all these rules that you're looking at have their own way of testing. So you're expected to test and own your implementations in your role. So if you're a software developer and if you're pushing changes, you need to make sure that you are you're testing your changes, you're building automation um, with all the changes that you're putting in for any given sprint. That is why I did not talk about like we still require like automation engineers, but more or less they are engineers. So when you say that you are doing software development, you're expected to know and do the testing on your own rather than depending on someone else. Of course, like your changes are going to be going through a lot of other processes for testing, such as integration testing, automation at different levels. But it's a complete quality mindset and automation oriented mindset that we are looking at. Um, I think I order. Um, we talked about a lot of the things, right? He- in all the time that I have been on different projects, before we go on to this slide, I'm gonna show you how the requirements are defined um, in my current team, and then I'll share a little bit about that, and I'll move to the questions. So, are you able to see the screen? Is it still shared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the different apps that we are working on in my team, right? Um, and each of these apps, when I say app, it's more like these are different group of programs. Do you guys have in your syllabus? Do you guys have awareness around what does API mean, or like websites, or like what is the hands-on level of work that you do at this point? Do you guys develop websites as part of labs? How much hands-on, like what is the extent of hands-on that you have right now? Or is it still more so with doing Java fundamentals, or .NET or C, C++? If so, then I think what I'm going to be sharing is not going to be relevant. Um, Maybe I can share a little bit of like how this requirement backlog looks like. Let me go there. All right, here it is. Here's how a product owner gives us requirements. These are the things which our team has to develop. There are a lot of, and you can see these are all different things. They are called different things. There are bugs which are found in production, and then we need to solve for it, fix it, and push it. Then a user story. So I showed that sprint, or like Scrum process, right? When we take in these requirements or changes to implement, we typically finish that in 1 to 4 weeks. And when we work on a user story, we get uh, the requirements in this form. Look at this. It's a well defined change. This is my mobile team, and it is explaining what the changes are, what needs to be done. It has screenshots of like the screens that we need to change, and all the details that you will require. Now, once you get this as a requirement, a software developer is going to start working on it. Um, we use prominently Visual Studio and all the Microsoft .NET ecosystem that you require. A lot of AWS um, for our cloud application changes. Most of our changes are in cloud. I know. I think you, you. I heard that you guys have a little bit of awareness around like cloud infrastructure and networking, and then we start working on the coding and building these changes and pushing the changes to the environment. That's where DevOps comes into the picture. I know that I said that we will talk about it in a bit, but when you complete your work or your coding, you need to push your changes to these environments, wherever these environments are, right? And the way you push these changes is using this DevOps mindset, where like you are pushing the changes through pipelines which are defined and laid out by DevOps teams. And that's how these changes are built, tested automatically using automation of different kinds, and then pushed to the environment or to the websites or web apps that we are using. I know. I think it's hard to know how exactly this works, but I think it will be a. I would love to do another session for that. But this is how typically a team works. Any questions so far? Or I'm sure it was a lot, but I wanted to understand if there are any questions that I can help answering.
Umesh, can you please add something about Salesforce or Salesforce Teams? Something.
Sure. So nice that you asked, because recently we have started working towards Salesforce. Again, Salesforce is another big skill um, that is coming up, or I'd say, I mean, it's already prevalent. But what it does is it gives out of box implementations of enterprise workflows that you need as a company. For an example, where we are using Salesforce, we work with real estate agents who are bringing in customers for our mortgage company, right? Now, these real estate agents have to be members in a way with my company, so that we can work through their payment systems, we can work through their relationship, uh, uh, so their payrolls, uh, their their profile management, all of that needs to happen. Someone needs to do that, right? We need a system to do that. Salesforce generally gives you out of box capabilities, meaning as a company, I don't need to build those software systems myself. We could build, and we could invest time and money in it. We could hire more people or software build teams, but there is something already available in the market that we can use, and that's how um, in a nutshell, so that I can, it is relevant to all the students here. That's what Salesforce is used in my use case, or my company, where like we are onboarding these real estate agents through Salesforce. Now, how much there are Salesforce developers who can customize your experience. So you as a company or consumers of Salesforce get to customize. Like for an example, they give you basic setup, and then you can customize on top of that, for which you need Salesforce developers, and for which we have a different team entirely, because it's a new skill, in a way, which is more into administrative side, where like you are administrating more than you are actually developing core development, right? And I was going to come and touch on that, but does that answer your question, sir? Or like, does that help?
Yes, I got it. No problem.
Yep. So I'll go back to my I think we're pretty close to be done. um what I was going to talk about is few things I have learned over my experience, is some of the basic things you'll require. uh, all the roles that we talked about, and the skills and tools and technology, there is no way you can do your job without knowing the basics. Like, you need to be an engineer, you need to have basic awareness about like the tools and techniques that is going to make you successful in whatever you do, right? If you're a developer, you need to know certain languages, whatever you choose. If you want to choose Java as your basic skill sets, then you got to be expert in it, in a way. Like, fortunately, I was always with Microsoft technologies, so my career started with Microsoft, and I'm still in Microsoft with like a lot of open source and cloud skills added over the years. These are things I feel you all should be uh, conscious about as well, like leadership, emotional intelligence, communication, attitude, and aptitude. We don't talk emotional intelligence a lot, but if you guys have time, like I said, go and do research on your own. Understand what does emotional intelligence means, right? It's about how you carry yourself in different situations. How do you handle disagreements? How do you carry yourself when there is a conflict situation? How do you choose the battles correctly? Communication in our area, the especially the space that we come from, we feel like having an ability to speak English fluently means being intelligent. I think that's so overly analyzed and so overly, scrutinized in our world. असं काही नसतंय. uh, I I work with, fortunately, I have an opportunity to work with different kinds of people from different nationalities: Chinese, Germans, Japanese. I have not seen any other culture more conscious about English than Indians. Us. That includes me, everyone. That's just how we are brought up, and we need to get out of that, to be frank. English bolta न येणं is not a problem at all for anyone. I am not a convent person. I had that complex um, when I started, when I moved from Gargoti to Pune, and then, but in no time I realized that, like, that's not what I'm going to be focusing on. I'm going to be focusing on my skills, the fundamentals, and these are the things which you need to worry about. Communication, however you convey your thought to other person, doesn't matter, as long as the person that you're talking to understands what you're going towards. So have clarity, be concise in however you say it or however you represent it, um, but do not be worried about overly worried about like communication part. It's just about having a great attitude as well, like always try and learn new things, adapt and move on. So I think I as a big brother here, I would tell you that be conscious about these things more so than what you do in like your curriculum. Like it's extremely important to have good marks, don't get away, I'm not saying that, but it's also important to focus on overall development, like have interests outside of education that'll make you more rounded person than just someone who is more worried about like um, prescriptive stuff, right? And more than education, these are the things I felt like I had to work on and like get better at. And is looked upon with huge. So you apply for jobs and go through interviews. These are the things people look at. They know they can teach a person skill, but they may not. Um, I mean, they may not be able to teach these things. So these are the things which you work on yourself, like you learn yourself. Um, that's pretty much it. Uh, Moving on to summary again, I already touched on. I believe we are at closure, but these are the things we should um, we should focus on. Is like find your niche as you grow from this stage of learning to become a professional. Meaning niche, meaning yeah, find your interest, whatever it is. I always felt like I had interest in development. I went through a typical programmers or engineers uh, life cycle, I would say, in terms of professional. So I have always had interest in software development, and I carried that interest through. Also, I was someone who did not have hesitance in like moving from one thing to the other. For an example, I started with mobile web application development like back in 2006 2007. Then there were no applications or mobile apps, so we were actually working on an app for BlackBerry phone. For It was an app which was helping my managers approve people's uh, uh, PTOs, meaning like if they are taking an off or something, they were approving expenses. And then I moved on to Microsoft technologies, and then I continued with it. But I hopped on different areas. So don't get stuck in any of the disciplines. Uh, if you want to learn a new skill, go out, try, learn, and then express it. Again, learn the difference between technology and trends. As you grow from like student to a professional to an experienced professional, um, you will come across a lot of trends. For an example, just we talked about Salesforce, right? Like it's a big trend right now. Is it a technology? I'm not sure. Uh, but what we talked about machine learning has been there for ages. C++ has been there for ages. um, Web development fundamentals is going to be still there, however long we will go. So identify those things and be strategic about your career. um, for an example, Angular, JavaScripting, jQuery, in a way, like those trends will come and go, but like focus on your fundamentals, and understand what is technology, what is trend, and invest your time and invest your energy accordingly. Don't run after market buzzwords. Just do your due diligence, like do your analysis, what it means to you, like how can you be more prepared for that, and be strategic about it. As you go, adapt and grow, like there is no other way. The industry changes every day. What I'm telling you right now, and you're probably 3 years away from being graduated as an engineer, may not be relevant in 3 years. 3 years is a long time. So that's why I did not choose a technology topic to go dive deep into. But if you have any questions about Any typical technology question, please reach out to me. I have email here on this invite itself, or sir has my phone number. Feel free to reach out to me in any form, and we can get into deep with any of the topics. But things are going to change, so please adapt and grow as you go. So um, that is it, sir. And over to you or anyone, if you have any questions or anything to add.
Sir, can you tell us more about Power BI?
Sure. So Power BI is a data engineering technique, right? It's a way of querying the data and also reporting. Power BI lets you store the data, organize the data, as well as query and report um, to your needs. For an example, we have a use case in my area where like we had data about real estate agents again, um, that we used to get every day. So we used to have a nightly data import, which we used to host it in Power BI environment, and every morning we used to create a report out of it, and it was automatically generated. So Power BI is basically a tool which gives you run intelligence on the hosted data. How to get data into that? uh, there is a process, uh, but it lets you run insights, query intelligently, and build um, build a system which can inform you, keep you informed about what is happening trend wise. So, and it's a rich tool with a lot of graphs. Maybe I can pull and see if it is up right now. That lets you, let's see, lets you see the data insights. Does that answer your question, or do you have any specific question about like inquire?
No, sir, it's answered.
Yeah, here it is. I hope it loads now, but are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you look at this is all Power BI based. Um, so it's a smart tool which is built on using Power BI, where behind the scene you have a lot of data imported every night. Some of the times we do it hourly. So we import the data, and users can come and see this report and understand the insights, right? Like you can go and change the filters or criteria for which you are trying to project the data on, uh, and the filters would change the projection of this report, and you can see. So this is built on the custom needs. For an example, this was not like this out of box, right? Like, so someone had to build this. So Power BI is again a skill. It's a business intelligence tool which runs on the data, and it's a way of querying and reporting. So this is an example of one of the reports that we use. Does this help?
Yes, yes, really.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Uh, Sir, which skill, course, or language we have to work on it in this remaining 3.5 year to starting our career as a in IT?
Again, I mean, there are multiple skills. Like I said, like all the rules that we talked about just now needs a lot of different skills. Like there is no one way to look at it. So as you grow, or as you grow from like a diploma student to an engineering student, or a bachelor's or graduation student, you will have to, and the way our education works is like you're going to have to learn all things and then somehow find your way into uh, one kind of career. So I wouldn't think a lot about it. So just do your basics. Of course, focus on learning the technology by heart. um, a- and find the fundamentals, like try and ask why every time you learn a new language or even if it is like just C++, learning object oriented fundamentals is extremely important. So that's, these are the things which are not going to go away from your um, profile. You have to have a good understanding of programming basics, object oriented fundamentals, database basics, problem solving basics. So focus on these skills at this point in your career rather than like going after a language or skill or a tool, right? These things are going to change. Tools will continue to change. Power BI is something right now we are using. We may not use it in 2 or 3 years. So it's going to evolve, it's going to change. So focus on fundamentals, whatever those are. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions from students? Umesh, I want to ask one question.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Uh, Now the papers are using AI in industry, right?
Yes.
So how would it be is hamper the employments?
Yeah, you said papers or like so I couldn't, like that your voice was cutting. Or are you
People,
saying that every people? Yeah, yeah, sorry. Yeah, to be frank, in my company we work with like mortgage bankers, real estate agents, value appraisers, and there is a little bit of apprehension about like what AI is going to do. Yeah. Is it going to take the jobs away from us? Yeah, it's obviously the first reaction to the AI evolution currently. But I do not know. I mean, to be I'm not worried about it too much, to be frank, because also in some form we will need to have new skills, or we need to adapt to seek these new skills at every point. Maybe how we program is going to change. I'll give you a recent example. We were moving from MySQL, the SQL technology, to PostgreSQL, and the syntax of MySQL is different than Postgres, but we had to make that migration in technologies because it was cost saving. Because if we were moving to Postgre, it was reducing our data storage and maintenance needs and costs, right? So we made that decision as a team. Okay, let's move on to that because it will save us some bucks. But along the way, we realized that yeah, it has a different way of querying and syntax and all that. And people on my team came up with this idea of like, hey, let's ask ChatGPT. Like, why do we have to learn it and go and read books? They literally asked ChatGPT to how do you convert this in Postgre SQL for this query, and it literally gave us the answers. So I think this is how I believe life is going to evolve along the way. It's going to add some of the things to us, it's going to make some of the things easier as a technologist, but also in some ways we might see some jobs being deprecated. We no longer may need it. Uh, Another example is like in US, unlike the mortgage process happens in India, because I had a loan in India as well. The process is not so stringent like it is in US, where like a person actually goes and looks after your property, the property that you're buying, and gives a report to the mortgage bank. uh, s- and then mortgage bank certifies your loan or like a mortgage. I don't think we do that so religiously here, and it's a different industry from here to there. But along the way, uh, our appraisers, who the people who actually go and evaluate properties, are a little apprehensive about this. Is saying, what if we are just gonna run a video scan of property inside and outside, and it generates reports outside? It is possible. I mean, that's the vision. uh, and there are reactions, there are mixed reactions. For example, as a technologist, I would be very curious to do it and be that innovation, like earn that innovative edge. But on the other hand, people who are doing it may be like not ready for it, and they will push back. And of course, like everything goes through governance and policy changes, so it depends on how government sees it as well, outside of us. So I think that was my experience so far. Not a lot, but I'm also waiting and watching.
Anybody want to ask question?
It's quite morning for everyone.
Yes.
So I'll ask a last question probably. Are all of the people here are Mumbai Indian fans, or Chennai Super Kings? Who, I mean, we should do a vote. Who is the which is the best team, guys?
Myself, am
Anyone
I?
watch? Oh, you are a Mumbai Indians fan, sir. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any Chennai Super Kings fans? I guess no. Uh, but no, it was great chatting with you all. Um, and thank you for the opportunity. I think Pawar sir is so engaged in all of these activities since I'm seeing him. He always had a keen interest in like uh, in every student. I mean, I remember like chats with him when I was in diploma. He always supported in his own way, whether it was us playing a cricket match or we doing projects. He always takes a deep interest in students, and even cares for like being in touch uh, with the students, and that's why like he has a connection with most of the former students. So I think you guys are in really great hands, and great teacher. So I think thank you for the opportunity again, sir, for connecting back, and it was nice time. I hope it was helpful. It was a lot of information, but again, I didn't know like what to share, what not to share. But again, like feel free to reach out to me again in any form, students.
Umesh, I want to add something about you.
Yeah.
Actually, Umesh is very good sportsman. He's good leader. I think I remember one thing when he was in a first year, and he is a captain of that team, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was captain.
Yeah. And he's a good bowler and batsman also. And uh, I think I remember. I think uh, without means without I mean, not out, you won the match and you won that whole right
Yeah, I think we
cricket
lost in. Yeah, we lost
the
in the
final.
final. So yeah,
Yeah,
we went to the final. We did not win the finals. We were playing against TY Mechanical. We were the first batch. We did
yeah,
not have seniors, neither we had
yeah,
juniors,
yeah.
because we were the first batch of IT ever. Yeah, that was a nice memory, but we couldn't win it,
Yes, yeah.
unfortunately.
But still, Umesh is playing cricket in US also.
Yeah, yeah,
Today his
it's stuck.
passion and he's yeah, yeah. So very nice thing. Okay. Uh, Raj, hello.
Uh, thank, Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I would like
Yeah.
to request Pranali Patil to deliver vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I extend my warmest greeting to all gathered here today. I want to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Umesh Bapat for his enlightening discourse on the IT industry and the opportunities it offers. Mr. Bapat's insights have been incredibly valuable, providing us with a deeper understanding of the ever evolving opportunities it offers. Sir, your guidance not only broadened our perspectives but has also empowered us to seize the countless opportunities available in IT. I am truly thankful for wisdom and expertise Mr. Bapat has shared with us today. Thank you, SoftClones, and also thank you, Dr. R.V. Pawar, sir, for arranging such a helpful and valuable lecture for us. Also, thanks to all staff for motivating us for joining. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Umesh, for accepting our invitation. Thank you.
Absolutely, it was honor. Thank you very much. All right,
Yes. Yes. Bye.
bye bye, bye everyone.